These kids are just doing it. Reel banate hai. They're making reels. They're clocking in. Even in the face of the brutality, they're going and serving tea and snacks to the cops. Protest is one of the strongest pillars of any democracy. The ideology of democracy thrives on protest. A very strong, enabled opposition party keeps democracy. And the fact that that right to protest is being now taken away, the way it is being taken away, is what the agenda clearly has become now all over the country.
Hi, Anoopamaa.
Hi, Sanya. Good to see you.
Same here. And, it's been like we've met each other in India, of course, but the first talk I did was live in Facebook. And that was the time I remember a girl, you were younger than like yourself today in numbers. You're looking
I'm
much younger.
crying. I'm crying and distraught. I still remember we did it from one of the hotel, I think Sofitel lobby. I was in the lobby waiting for a meeting to get over.
Right.
And I was doing that talk, yeah.
I wanted to give a background about you because you are a woman who understands the importance of the voice. And you don't shy in voicing yourself. You're a very sensible human being. That's how I perceive you. And you know exactly when to hit when the iron is hot. And I remember last time also we were talking about a beautiful tigress cub, and you were out passionately for fighting for that. And I'm sure you're still working with the tigers. And, what was the name of the tiger? If I would just.
At that time was Avni, the tigress who was killed, murdered, shot dead,
Exactly.
framed and shot, yeah.
Right. And you really voiced yourself and you really were out and about for that. And today again, and me and you are go long back, and we generally keep on and off talking. And today again, I just intuitively felt that this girl cannot be quiet, and I'm sure she must be doing something. And that's what I heard. You're living in Bombay, and you said, I'm going to Jantar Mantar on Sunday. I said, are you in it? She says, yeah, of course I'm going to be supporting the children here,
Don't, let's not announce
Okay.
what we are doing further.
Yeah. So, but
We want to be there, that's all.
yeah,
The-
you
if
want to be there. Yeah, exactly.
The ones that, for whatever reason, the ones who can't be there, especially our generation, is feeling really frustrated because these children are showing us the way, हमारे time पे भी protest was very heavy on ourselves. You've seen me, you've seen what my mental state at that time used to be. And these kids are just doing it. Reel banate hai. They're making reels. They're clocking in and going in, into detention. They're turning the detention police stations into a place of sweet protest. Sanya, have you heard of any protest anywhere historically around the world where the protesting party, the protesting individuals, have a cleanup group? Today, I shared a story of a post from the Cockroach Janta Party guys saying we are looking for cleanup volunteers. So, to be part of this group, please message us. So, every morning and evening, these youngsters are there, they're protesting. And of course, there's food being, sent by people like from all over the country, and they're eating and everything. And they're sweeping the streets, the public streets of Jantar Mantar. These kids are cleaning up. What protest have you seen like this in the world? Tell me.
It's beautiful.
Oh, hats off to these kids, yeah.
Yeah, and let's go back as we were talking in terms of the whole. If I understand correctly, clear me right. What is the thing about NEET? And
So-
NEET is National Eligibility and Entrance Test in India.
Yes, yes. So if you want to be a doctor, engineer, it's like the qualification or the aptitude test to enable you to then go in for your medicals or engineering. And so the papers were leaked. And, a lot of people in your part of the world won't understand what a leak of paper is. So before, how taps leak, drainage systems leak. You call a plumber. What is this?
Uh-huh.
So the examination question papers are given off. They are bought out by certain people beforehand. So obviously they have the answers, right? And paradoxically, the same gentleman whose resignation they want, the current education minister, he began his career protesting against paper leaks. Okay. So I think the history of this protest was then the children who committed suicide, who died by suicide because they had studied. Now understand, Sanya, that it's not just the entitled or the rich or the privileged classes that appear for NEET. There are families who probably, there's one child from the whole village or the locality who's appearing for NEET, who's the hope of that hamlet, who's the hope of that village or that town. Parents who have saved their life savings, pitching it against the future of this child so that that child's life is better than theirs. Farmers' kids, middle class, low middle class, less privileged people who have put in everything. Children have slogged day and night, and then they realize that the papers were leaked. And it's not for us to question whether it was cowardice, why did the children, a lot of people are voicing that, oh, that's not the solution. I believe you cannot comment on people choosing to end their lives, especially youngsters. It needs a different kind of courage to do it, So when these children chose death in the face of what, they saw that the parents have put everything into it, the hope came crashing. They understood that they don't have the future that they hoped they had. That is what triggered the protest. That we want accountability. If even one child, say, if we look at the government as the head of a family, the nation is a family unit. And if something terrible was to happen to that family, you would expect the head of the family to take, the onus, to take responsibility, to come out and answer. I think this whole frustration is about the lack of accountability in anything at all. And that's where I think the avalanche of emotion, of passion, of seeking justice woke up. This generation calls themselves, woke, the woke generation. Well, they woke up, and how? And the protest started about a month ago, and led by some, the whole Cockroach Janta Party story went. So the Chief Justice, the honorable courts of the country, in a very irresponsible remark, just called the youngsters cockroaches. Oh, they're just cockroaches. They don't have anything better to do. They're crawling all over the internet. And this boy, Dipke, just put out a meme. And that's how the whole avalanche started, where then suddenly overnight they had millions of followers. And it became the greatest youth movement this country has seen probably after the freedom struggle. So now the first thing was accountability. If so many children have, died by suicide because of the NEET leakage, then they wanted the department, the education department and the minister to take responsibility. And the demand was that he should resign. That was simple, right? You step down if you failed, whoever has failed your system, you step down and then sweep it clean. But somehow it became like a battle of egos now. And our government refused to let that happen. Emotions spilled over, passion spilled over, the feeling of injustice, the awareness that our voice is not heard, we don't matter, came out as the surge of what we are seeing today, that the world is watching. So yes, the protest is about justice. And then what happened on the 20th of July, 2 days ago, is protesters standing there with nothing but a constitution, a copy of the constitution of the country, and roses in their hands, pulverized, were beaten. The march was not allowed to happen. And it was peace march. It's been very peaceful. Sonam Wangchuk, who's a scientist that the country has, awarded and celebrated in the past, who's been, a warrior for Ladakh environment, for a lot of causes for the country, pretty selflessly, doesn't demand or ask for any political status or anything. He joined this platform and announced the past indefinite hunger strike. And hunger strike has been an expression of peaceful revolution in this country of Gandhiji. Yeah, everybody knows that.
Yeah.
And it came to head when suddenly one day the system swooped down and took Mr. Sonam Wangchuk away by force. They covered him in white cloth and took him by force. Abusive language was used. It was very strategically planned. And when, the other younger kids who were on stage with him, the faces of the movement who are on stage were not there. They'd just gone to refresh themselves. They were held back. And Sonam Wangchukji was lifted physically from there. And that is what triggered this whole thing about seeking justice and getting our voice heard. and Gen Z is out there, men. And on the 20th, girls, not women. I wouldn't even say women, they're children. There's
Yeah.
school kids and college kids. I think the average age must be 15 to 25, 28. Some of the leading faces, some of them maybe in their 30s at the most, who had nothing but peace to offer, who had nothing but questions to be answered, were met with lathis, sticks, and batons, which had nails on their heads. At least 30 or 40 heads were split open.
God.
These children were beaten, their bones were broken. Women were manhandled by those in uniform. And those in uniform came with no name tags, no identity. And it was like a war situation. The barricades had electric wires in them. And those, by the way, the kids have turned it into like an intention manifestation fence now. So they're tying ribbons of, prayers on those barricades. They are turning everything into a vibe check. Sanya, this is a generation that is making reels on the go. They leave their house doing a get ready with me reels of how to get ready for a protest. They're doing reels saying, going out there to get beaten by police. I have never seen a generation that is this hilariously blasé and fierce and sure about what they want, but they're doing it in such a light-hearted manner. That's their coping mechanism. Just today I wrote, that this is probably their coping mechanism.
Exactly.
And the generation that wasn't even, speaking to us, you have kids at home, our nieces and nephews, you talk to them and you get a, yeah. They're never listening, you think, right? They don't even talk.
Yeah.
They are so eloquent. They are so clear. The language, I didn't know they had that much vocabulary. And listen to them now.
Very true. I mean, you put it very well. I got the structure. People who haven't, like, especially the, people from outside, they get the grip of the situation. But if I go a bit deeper into it, we have three sections that I want to cope up. Like, these are the people, these are the children you're talking about who have the understanding of what their rights are, and they're available for fighting for themselves. And they have left, they understand. So these are not very hopeless kids. They're actually bringing out a lot of hope. But I still want to see the dichotomy, even though I understand that it's very sensitive issue. I want to raise, because what is happening, do you really, because you are a spiritual soul yourself. Now, I don't want to talk about a soul searching here, but everything has to be accountable in terms of that. So I want to ask parents, I want to ask, of course, society and everything, because children are children, they are 18, 19, whatever age they are. If they are preparing NEET exams, they must be 16, 17, 18, depending upon. So they are very, very young and aware children. But when they are into that hopeless feeling, for whatever reason, I'm not blaming, but I definitely want to soul search and say that, 25 young, amazing souls departed. It is really heartbreaking. That really gave me chills.
21, yeah.
That
21,
could
yeah.
be anyone's child, brother, sister, it could be anyone's. And just to think, it gives me a lot of chills. So for me, I feel that it is a problem deeper. Now, I understand. I think you made a lot of sense when you say that there has to be people who are accountable. I totally get it and I totally agree to it. And the way this thing is handled, as you're mentioning, it's almost, you know, I think I come from a country, you must be knowing, because we have spoken about it. We have a lady here, Greta Thunberg. She was one little girl who stood alone and fought for the, environment. One. And now
She's
she's made
quite the hero here too. She's quite the hero.
one little girl, and then she's got the world around. So definitely young children have power, but it depends where that power is shown, right? So in India, as you rightly saying, I'm not being political about anything, because as you also said that you're also not being political, but we have to draw in these threads, because we are a nation of 1 point some billion people, and I mean there is one man who's leading this pack, and there are people who are believing in them and him, and there are people who are now coming out. Because I today saw a Gujarati lady. I was really shocked. And she's completely against. He says, and then there is another lady who is in from Rishikesh who was abusing. I was like, ooh, it was really, she was abusing him, like, ooh. So, and I mean, she was so angry that she was abusing him. At the same time, she said, I was a complete bhakt, and now I've turned it around.
You're
So,
talking about Mana, the lady who shaved her hair for the trees.
she was like, and she was bhakt, and now she's changed. So this
And she's a spiritual person. She's a spiritual teacher, by the way.
exactly. She's an astrologist, and all that.
She teaches Shri Vidya. She does a lot of workshops. And that was my whole thing, that when the spiritual community has to now come and walk the street, we really have to look at where the society is headed then.
Exactly.
If we are leaving what we do, it feels like a sham right now to be talking about meditation and retreats in this situation. Yeah.
But I was thinking that somebody has to keep the warrior and fight the issues, because we are still on the ground level, right? But I'm just trying to understand, do you really from your heart think that without, because these young kids, of course, if there has to be an agenda behind this whole movement, where this can come into judiciary, where this can come into government. So do you think this is madness in chaos, so there is some order in chaos? What do you have to say? Because I am very concerned, because I have been in such marches before, and I've seen, it's drooling down and then settling down, and the sound and fury goes underground. And I'm hoping it's not the case this time. I really want some kind of justice happening for the reason and the cause they're doing. But I'm just asking you with curiosity and hand in my heart, that do you think that this time there is, because there has to be a strategy. It cannot be just heart and passion. There has to be a strategy. Is there any strategy, you think?
So, what I really think. So I have a theory. I'll take this back to our spiritual plane again, or the mystical plane again a little bit before I answer that directly. Is I have a theory that even in Mahabharata, Krishna kind of underestimated what would happen. So what he saw as a move that would bring back dharma and establish the right of the Pandavas, that everything, burgeoned into something far bigger. The kind of bloodshed, the kind of lives lost, and a whole entire shift of civilization that happened, which is why he accepted the karma phala, which is why he accepted the curse from Gandhari, is it went out of hand. So I think this too has started more like a knee jerk, like the founders of Cockroach Janta Party themselves say that it started with a meme. They weren't expecting this. But what I really appreciate is they followed through. If they could have left it, these are boys from Boston and they're highly educated, working, studying abroad, who dropped everything and came back because 1 million plus or whatever, I don't know the exact numbers of what that first count of followers was, had shown faith in the concept of youth voice. So it started with probably something that would have been just an online campaign where they would be seen or where they would be heard. And then with the paper leaks and the suicides and then being thwarted, then being ignored and pushed aside, it's escalated. So I don't think there was a strategy. I don't think there is any other strategy right now apart from the agenda that they have set out, and they're sticking to it. They're very, very focused. If a journalist goes or anybody goes and asks any of them, why didn't so-and-so political leader come here? Don't you think so-and-so? They say, stick to the agenda. Accountability, resignation of the education minister, cases that have been, lodged, police cases against some children during the protest to be dropped, and a long-term solution to be brought, in the education system. They're sticking to that. Their own manifesto, if I'm to use that word, their whole decision of whether they are going to go into mainstream politics or not will evolve along the way. Whether it does or not, we don't know. But right now it's become, because of being ignored and then being brutalized, mindlessly brutalized. So the cops were given orders not to let them march. What would happen? There are a few thousands, okay, kids who are sloganeering, right? They were peaceful. If they had marched, what would have happened? So when you barricaded and locked them in, that's where the anger came in. That we're not asking for anything. We are peaceful. Even in the face of the brutality, they're going and serving tea and snacks to the cops also. So they're still maintaining that. So I think the manifestos and long-term strategies will evolve if they must. Right now, the youth is bristling with the way they've been treated, and they've been told, like everywhere, even in Mumbai, even before the protest starts, they're being picked up. It's like, anticipatory. So they haven't even opened their mouth. Some of the people who are out there for a walk and they just looked young, and you look like you're going for the protest, and they're picked up. So right now, the agenda, if any, is to be heard, to be seen, to be allowed the right to protest. The democracy, and you've studied this in political science, basic 6-7 standard civics in school tells you this, that, protest is one of the strongest pillars of any democracy. The ideology of democracy thrives on protest. A very strong, enabled opposition party keeps democracy in check. And the fact that that right to protest is being now taken away, the way it is being taken away, is what the agenda clearly has become now all over the country.
That's, I think it's a good perspective you're given. But it's like, I totally get you. And I think these are the basic rights that they are coming forward with. And I think it's a very healthy protest. And this has to be continued in the best possible way. But if you go back to those 25 people being hopeless,
21, yeah.
21 people being hopeless and then going, that was the reason that they felt that, okay, there will be no jobs. There will be no food on the table. The people in the house have really cut their, throats and cut their stomachs and everything, and to make them what they were supposed to do. And that particular thing, because they are asking, the young youth today is asking from whom? They're asking from the people who are themselves into that position, and they are making this unhealthy protest. So my thing is that it's a very big challenge that you are asking a righteous behavior from people who are actually wanting you not there. So it becomes a huge dichotomy of, things around you. And I don't know what will happen, because I hope that this doesn't just go somewhere else than it should. Because I don't see, as you said, the ego battles and everything. I think it's beyond that. It is so much of a power and struggle and all that stuff which is going on, and it's just gone out of proportion. So there has to be a replica of someone who is able to take over. And do we have that? And I think that boils down to a political question. Even if we have to sideline politics, it has to be a political, because it is the governmental problem. It is how people are perceiving life in India today, which is making them feel hopeless. There's so much of disparity of income. There is so much of unemployment. The education is sky high. Tomato and aloo is different. Education is sky high. Everything which is basic necessity is sky high. People are unable to survive. And then there you have a social media, which is tempting like hell. Social media is tempting, and it's hell. So I think everything is going against us, the whole system. And then on top of it, they are reducing the democratic India to a middle dictatorship, in the way that they can pick up somebody, put the thing on the face, and they just let that person sweep out. It's what Venezuela, the Trump did, That's what he did. He did in Venezuela.
I have a way of saying this. What I see, on one hand, you have India shining. You have the kind of, international status that India's got and everything, the infrastructural growth, fabulous. But at what cost and how? So like, me, for me, the beginning and end of my life is the green cover, the forests, the rivers, right? The infrastructure, the cost of acres and acres and acres of forest, the forest people, the tribals, their way of life. I question that. So the way I put it is, the good that this governance, the current governance is doing for the country is very, very good. But the bad is dangerous. It's not just bad. And that is heartbreaking, because what if they had just heard them out? If we had to come back to the problem in hand right now, the situation right now, what if they had simply heard these kids out? What if they had chosen to put that one man accountable, have him step down? I really question his own, sense of self, that he will stick through. No, I will hold on to my chair, come what may. I would step down. If I knew there's so much of hate against me, I would step down. But, to become this arrogant, that's the hubris of mankind. That's the kind of arrogance that you need to watch out for. It brings you down. It really brings you down. And that's the thing, terms like dictatorship and all these political terms, I don't understand. I don't know, because you have equal amount of people who, say things are so much better now. So these are all subjective. If my life is affected, that's the kind of world we live in, right? If my, 360 degrees on a 10 by 10 inch of life is being rewarded and nourished and evolved with the structure now, I'm happy with it. The consciousness of being a collective, that somebody else is suffering because of a certain way of, governance or certain policies, I don't care. That's how society lives now, with blinkers. So I think that whole feeling of collectiveness, I questioned this very thought a few days ago in one of my posts, is, are we a nation at all? Are we thinking like a collective? The utopian ideas of one world and, universal. Are we that? No, we're not. So in that situation, I think something needs to wake up. It's all, people like us, we believe in prayer. You believe in prayer. I believe in prayer. I believe in meditating. And we are all holding our prayers. We are meditating, sending out the intention that those who are mighty, please give them a sense of righteousness, a sense of what should be. Bring nobility back in leadership. Bring ethics back in leadership. Because the resources are all there. We proved now all the more with these children also that the future is also bright with these kids. The potential, the creativity, the possibilities, the intellectuality, it's all there. So instead of snuffing it out, we can be a materially abundant and a culturally and spiritually powerhouse if we handle this right. And it has to be inclusive. You have to include public voice. You can't exclude it. You cannot be a one-way Big Brother watching Orwellian world. Are we there already?
I'm with you. And so if we have to come to in terms that, you know, of course, you want the government to hear this out. And maybe, as you said, that we need to maybe hear them out, because they are the people who are sitting today in judiciary. They are the people who are the lawmakers. And if the lawmakers are breaking the law, if the lawmakers are directing the protectors, that's the police, to become the goons, so the hope is very limited then, you know. And so that is why these youngsters who have a strong blood, thank God for that. They have a young blood, thank God for that. They have the ability to come forward and then, put their thoughts across. But that is what I would want to ask you one last time. That do you, in the middle of all this, are you still hopeful? Do you think that the government today, which is today, you can tell your perspective. Do you think that this can turn around?
See, whatever we do now is too late. It's going to be reaction and not action. Okay? So whatever they do, it's going to take a while, and these children are going to remember. They are going to be voting in 2029. Now, with the way things have gone, I don't know how they can appease them, how we can show them hope. Yes, I'm always hopeful because, again, Kala Chakra, I believe in the cycle of time and space. Everything that exists as we know it is today shall one day cease to be, right? Whenever things peak, so if atrocities have peaked, if ego has peaked, if a system has peaked, the only way it has to go now is downward, So one way or the other, whether it's going to be self-realization, whether it's going to be introspection, that's asking for too much. Like imagine where the highest seat of law, the Supreme Court, and the spokespersons of that, the judges, call your own generation pests, cockroaches. Or even now when, they wanted to show the honorable courts the videos of the atrocities, they've actually given a statement saying, we don't have time to look at videos. What hope do you want us to see? It's a churn in the mystic, in the, the shamanic tantra prophecies also.
Yeah.
This time of cusp between the two ages of consciousness. It's called the Kali Parva, where the elements of churning are very, very strong. So just when you churn, even as per the story, when you churn the oceans, the poison came up first, and then the elixir of life. So everything that is toxic will rise, will come to surface, and then the new age will come. Because I really now, the hope that I see is in this generation future. I think up to us, what are we called now, the Gen Xs. So the boomers, the baby boomers, the Gen Xs, and the millennials. Once we have left, I think these kids will sort it out. We have corrupted the world out of its, original structure and design.
No, but I totally get it. And so, what the last things you want to say? Because you've said things which is, I can see a point there. And do you want to wish to say something to the youth?
Just that, first of all, I would say sorry that we misjudged you. I think this is the generation that has its filters on, knows how to, draw their boundaries, how to look after themselves. They are aura farming and they're taking mental health days off, and they're wearing the right kind of soundproofing, ritual proofing in life. And yet they're so clean and so pure and so smart. Look, their access to information is infinite. This is the AI generation. They're born literally into this world. So stay you. Don't let the system corrupt you. Hold those visions of the future that you have. Most of them are, involved in some kind of NGO work. They're working for, indigenous people or saving seeds or saving soils. Hold on to those values. We're going to give you such a warped world, out of shape. So hold that precious. Stay you and look after yourselves, kids. You're precious. And yes, I see hope in them. I see a lot of hope in them.
I just, through you and through this program, I agree with you totally. The youth is just outstanding. They know much more than we know, because why I say that? Because they are relevant. They have everything going on. And I mean, I keep asking, my young people around me that, can you help? Can you help? And so I need a lot of help from them, in many different levels, not just physical, but also mental and this whole AI. And so you guys are completely rocking. But at the same time, I would also urge them not to dwell into things which are not so okay. I think they need to get into the aspect of knowing that it's not just accountability by others. You have also to be accountable for yourself. Your life, the most important life from everybody. So you need to be accountable to you. I think asking accountability for others is definitely intelligent, but to accountable for yourself and making accountable to yourself for yourself, I think it's wise and it's supreme. And you guys are there. You guys are there. And I understand the passion and I understand the compassion for the youth which is past. And I totally say God bless them all. And I respect all the souls there. But I definitely want to urge the youth. And then I definitely want to ask you, do you think, if you wish to say, the government, do you have anything? I mean, I'm not saying you need to give them any guidelines or something, but do you have any thoughts on that, your perspective? So that, you have the right to give your perspective, I think. If you want to.
This may not make sense to a lot of your, European viewers or people who are listening. We'll translate it for them.
Yeah.
But you remember that song, no? Allah Tero Naam, Ishwara Tero Naam.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the most profound lines in that song is Nirbal ko bal dene wale, balwano ko de do gyan. You remember that line?
Yeah.
Nirbal ko bal dene wale. Do you know the song? You sing yourself, right?
You can't sing. It's beautiful what you're singing.
So, balwano ko de do gyan is that power, that God, that universe that grants power or might to the weak. May the mighty be gifted or blessed with good sense, knowledge. That's all I will say. Let knowledge guide you.
Yeah.
They're human beings. No, end of the day, Sanya, aren't they human?
Of course.
So come back, come back to your humanity. Do everything you're doing. I don't care. I really right now don't care about how they're making their money or not, what corruption, what is happening. Come back to the humanness of this great land. We have taught the world. We have had, Raja Rishis. Raja Janak, Ma Sita's father, was known as a Raja Rishi. He was a sage who was king. Bring back that glory in a Sanatan Dharma vision. I think that should be the base of governance.
I have to, Sanjay, just say a few words here, because you've been very kind and you spoke something very touching. But I met Narendra Modi ji just a few weeks back. He was in Sweden. I actually hugged him and he looked at me and I said, would you remember me? Because I'm going to have a talk with you one day. And he said, yes. And he did this. We were holding hands in the hall. And there were so many Indians, NRIs, who were amazed by this person. And I was overwhelmed to meet Mr. Modi, because he walks and talks and he gives hope. And I had tears in my eyes. And I had a friend of mine who is a huge entrepreneur here. He came down and touched his feet and he said, bless me. People were overwhelmed. They were making him. It's not about bhagats. It's about the reverence we as Indians who have for him. And I really want him to understand that I'm calling this talk for him from the bottom of my heart, that I really want him to live up to that reverence that we have had for you and we still have for you. And we want the youth to feel that reverence, because I revered him. And when I came back home, he made my day. I was talking and giving everybody he said, yes, he will remember me. I hope he does. But it doesn't matter if he remembers me or not. But its most important thing is that he lives up to that reverence and that devotion that a lot of Indians have for him, not just as a prime minister, but as a human being. And that human being is what I'm calling for. I'm calling for Narendra ji as a human to look at another human. And our young generation is just asking that from you. So that's all I wanted to say in this. And thank you so much. Would you want, today my voice is not okay because I'm having a fever and everything. Please, you sang so well. If you wish to, can you sing that song that you just said, that give the mighty the
My voice is totally gone with all the jeopardy.
So, okay, because I thought that was very powerful and he likes music. But anyway, so thanks.
Tonight I'll sing only for my children, for no one else.
Okay, great. So we are there for our, youth, and we want the, Indians to feel, at home in India, and we.
That's right. We want to feel at home. And what you were saying, that coming, our honorable Prime Minister, asking him to come back to the human element. Imagine a world where this entire lot, this generation Z and Alpha who are out there, look at you and want to do what you share your vision because they love and respect you, not because you pulverize them and beat them into it. Imagine a nation that looks at you the way you all are looking at him. Because right now we're really unable to do that. So what if you earned that love and respect and hope, not from tyranny, but from good policy making, ethical governance, strong governance?
Exactly.
What if?
Exactly. And I'm totally with you. And we are democratic and we will remain democracy. We've been slaving for 400 years and never again it's going to happen. And this is it's our future generation who's going to make sure we are blessed with such a beautiful, intelligent, and we are very young country. We are like around 65% of Indians are young. And so I think I'm very hopeful in all directions. But I just want our leaders, Mr. Narendra Modi ji, with so much of humbleness, that please listen, and I'm sure everything is going to work out if you just listen. So thank you so much, and God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Mala. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.